Okay, so you should know that based on the fact that the Creator geometrized in the beginning, all of life, for all times actually, has already been predestined and pre-programmed to be absolutely plus perfect forever. And this includes every human being and, every life form, everything, everywhere, particularly every life that every human being ever lived, lives, and will live was in fact and has originally been predestined and created in accordance or brought into existence within a certain system that the Creator has put in place, giving it the potential to actually be plus perfect forever. So what I'm saying is that life was originally predestined and programmed, even human life, to be absolutely perfect. So the best possible life that you can imagine is what you're supposed to actually be living in accordance with what can be described as God's will and thus a legitimate life, right? So this is automatically possible and has basically been sort of pre-programmed by the Creator to be thus. The evidence for this is the following thing. Namely, we know that in the beginning the Creator geometrized, and moreover what's written in the Holy Law is, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, and we also know through wisdom that, you see, life is cyclical, okay, and if one lives in harmony with the cycles of life, one has a maximum amount of basically all the good things that are in life that are legit, like health and wealth and peace and security and clean prosperity and all good things in good moderation, right? And actually, that's the way it's supposed to be for everybody, for every human being and for every life form. Now, this is potentially possible, and that is what, see, it's potentially possible. It has been designed to be like that, and the potential for it to be like that is there. The method of accessing this perfect state of existence as a human being, the method or the way to access this, what has already been provided by the Creator, is also, it's basically in the form of blessing from the Creator, or blessings from the Creator, from His loving kindness and His grace, in the form of wisdom. Because, you see, there's also evidence of that basically in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and wisdom was his helper. So what this tells us is that everything that you see as a human, everything that was, is, and will be, has all been designed by the Creator using wisdom. And this wisdom is also readily accessible to us through God's grace and through the blessing of wisdom, actually, whereby we can actually gain it, we can gain wisdom, receive it, and then practically apply it in our lives, and basically, shall we say, achieve or steadily benefit from or achieve and maintain the highest good overall in accordance with God's will. Okay, so what I'm actually saying is that from the very beginning, everything was divinely intended to be absolutely perfect. And it's the case that with wisdom, you as a human being can actually live an absolutely perfect and an absolutely healthy and wealthy and legitimate life that is pleasing to the Creator, that is so-called godly, and that is really good. And this is actually the way that it's supposed to be, and it's possible to make it thus very simply by practicing a little bit of self-discipline, okay, and actually, reading and studying the Holy Law, and reading and studying a book called Self-Mastery and Fate with the Cycles of Life by H. Spencer Lewis, rest in peace. And you can get a free copy of this book as a PDF, courtesy of the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rosy Cross, on the internet. You just type in Self-Mastery and Fate with the Cycles of Life in the search bar, and you get it for free. Thank you so very much to the Ancient Mystical Order of the Rosy Cross for publishing this immensely good book. You know, we have certain holy books that we read and study, hopefully, and they also tell us that, life is cyclical. Even King Solomon, or Ecclesiastes, the preacher, probably King Solomon, though, had written something somewhere about that when he was young, he gained knowledge about, he gained wisdom, and he gained knowledge about cycles and times also. It's talking about the cycles of life. Now look, in reality, everything is in fact perfect on the highest levels according to the divine plan, or the divine design, right? Now, this covers all of time. So what I'm saying is that every human being has the potential to actually live a really, really good life and master their life and destiny, right? In accordance with God's will. So the resources are actually the number one resource from the Creator himself, to him be the praise. The resource is already there. What I'm saying is that everything could be completely universally perfect in accordance with God's will for everyone, everywhere, at all times, forever. It is possible. And for some of us, it seems to be the case. I see this more and more. When I really look at and I see the true details of what's going on, and this is something that all of you should know, because, look, you see, everything that we experience as human beings created in the image of God and after his own likeness, and children of God, right? All of that, it's intended to be perfect. It was provided for from the beginning to be absolutely perfect. And there's evidence of this too when our boss, Yeshua the Messiah, said, "Be ye perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect." Okay, so it's possible. That's another important piece of evidence that shows that it's possible. Now, how shall I say this properly? If you simply practice a little bit of self-discipline, right? A little bit of prudence, you can maintain a certain safe way of living wisely that gives you a certain amount of safety and security and stability and an ongoing, like, just the right amount of health and wealth and all good things in good moderation, and then build upon that, right? So what I'm saying is that all of life, remember, if we zoom out now, for all of time It was programmed and put into existence in a format for it to be perfectly just plus perfect forever. And it can be thus. It has to do with us as human beings, create an image of God and after his own likeness, utilizing our free will to basically choose what is wise. And this is indicated to us through wisdom. This wisdom is written of in certain holy books, like the Holy Law, for example, right? And also additional wisdom that can be verified as being authentic from the Holy Scrolls is also written down and actually readily accessible, even for free, in other books, primarily though as it's related to the cycles of life, in a certain book called Self-Mastery and Fate with the Cycles of Life. Now, listen, if you really think about it, okay, and this is a very interesting fact. This is one of the most interesting facts that I have ever realized or that I have seen and recognized to be true because of also having used wisdom to discern whether this thought or this revelation that I had was true or not. And it was this, is that basically all of the imperfections, or shall we say, anything that is sort of wrong with the world, anything that's against God's will over all of time, past, present, future, anything whatsoever that's wrong with the world, so to say, it's almost all a result of lack of wisdom. So, there are no coincidences. Imagine this for a second. There basically are no coincidences. You see this at a certain clarity as a magi or a seer. You see that actually there are no coincidences. You always have some type of... So, you're always within certain cycles of life, and there's 9 different ones, okay? From short to long, you've got the daily period of the cycles of life, then you've got the short lunar unit, the long lunar unit, the annual life cycle period, including the health, business, and personal life cycle period. Then you've got the simple overall period of human life, and then you have your soul personality, right? So there's about 9 different cycles that are relevant, should be watched within our divine human existence here in this, generally maximally 144-year lifespan as a human being, right? Now, the thing is that, you see, there's an action and there's a reaction, and it's basically either positive or negative, okay? Or actually, positive, neutral, or negative, essentially, okay? So therefore now, see, with wisdom, it is actually possible, for example, to always achieve positive results within every human interaction, within basically everything that you do. It's actually possible. It takes a lot of attention to detail, watchfulness, and divine guidance. Cosmic attunement also has to have happened around the age of 32 to 33. You must be enlightened based on the cycles of life in a time when the human being reaches a certain point of maturity based on how life is cyclical. Just like the fruit on a tree reaches a certain point of maturity and ripeness so that it's ready, to fulfill its and potentially, hopefully also perform its and fulfill its total divine purpose and potential. So, like cosmic attunement around age 33 essentially has to happen. And then all of that, what is revealed when everything is basically clear to you, it takes a while for that to be processed. And then that wisdom also through total enlightenment to be practically applied in your life. You learn to practically apply that. Now, the thing is that at that point you have, so what you've got then is something that could be described as definitely close to a so-called master. Someone who's able to master their life and destiny, right? Who's not a victim of fate, rather who has wisdom, right? Good relationship with the living power and his fellow human beings also as a result thereof, and a good life, a health, wealth, all good things, good moderation, and who has wisdom and is able to master his or her life and destiny, right? Because all of life is cyclical, and there are different life cycles that are propitious for different things. And for example, a master can accomplish whatever is the most propitious thing because a master knows what life cycles he or she is in and what time it is the best time for. Also, though, what's highly interesting is that imagine having the highest possible levels of wisdom based on the point where you are in your life cycle, right? From 0 to 144 years, you could have the highest available amount of wisdom. For example, I could have the highest amount of available wisdom right now at this moment. I could know exactly how life and the universe works. I could know pretty much everything there is to know that we can comprehend in this existence, right? And that too is like a point along, it's like a point on the line. It's like a stop on the way. And it keeps progressing. And so you could have the highest amount of wisdom, yet do you know what would happen even then? What would happen is that the cosmic mind, or shall we say the mind of God that is within you, because we're the embodiment or the manifestation of that what is Elohim or God, just like our boss said, he that hath seen I hath seen the Father, right? I and my Father are one. Amen. Okay? So what I'm saying is that you could be the wisest human being and pretty much be able to know everything at certain times that's necessary. How all of life in the universe works, how to accomplish any objective, how to foresee the future, and moreover even determine the future. Yeah, and we are capable of doing that. It's actually simpler than you might think. All you have to do is operate in harmony with the cycles of life and take certain action at certain times. When this action taken at certain times will result in certain reactions at certain times based on the fact that everything in life has a cycle, a point of beginning, and this basically predetermines, and then also as you go, you determine the life cycle and what becomes of anything, whether it's a human acquaintance, an investment, a tree you plant, whatever good thing it is, right? You could have the highest amount of wisdom, yet what happens is that we have to remember to be listening in to the Creator. So how does this work? You go in nature or you go somewhere quiet by yourself and you just try to be calm. You're calm, and there's not a lot of thoughts. And then you have like a divine inspiration or a cosmic impulse or an idea. It's like you're knowing something that's communicated from within, where this sort of a divine presence that is in us and it is in everything is communicating to you from within. Because remember, we are actually that what is God made manifest, whether male or female, because in the image of God created them, male and female created he them. So your thoughts and ideas, urges, impulses, those things that, your body, mind, spirit, and soul, your existence is the first and foremost, basically, embodiment of God. So the mind of God is within you. And of course, God is omnipotent and totally universal, yet first and foremostly within us. Just like you have the inner, sort of the miniature universe, it is said, I think it's in Kabbalistic tradition, that every human being is like a miniature universe. So, you could have the highest amount of wisdom. You could have so much wisdom that you could literally, and we actually can determine the very future and the destiny of all of this, right? Yeah. Yet you will receive further additional good divine guidance and instruction. And how does this work? It's like this. Whatever you're working on, whatever you're investigating, whatever you're curious about, whatever questions you have. And I actually think that I have questions that very few humans could actually even properly answer at this point. It's possible. What I'm saying is that there are questions that go beyond what is written in books. And some holy books tell us that, even these things can be figured out. So what I'm saying is that you receive like a cosmic impulse, or listening to the holy breath. God speaks to man from within, okay? Not like hearing words in your head or anything. It's just, this, or there's a thought and you realize, that's how that is, or that's how that works. Wow, okay. So you have to discern these two, though. How do you do that? How can I be sure that what I perceive as a divine inspiration, or like a thought from God instructing me or speaking to me or showing me something, how do I know that it's authentic and it's actually legitimate and it's not my own imagination, for example? You have to look at the cycles of life that you're in, because there's a time when you will see things clearer and be able to, it's like, process and investigate and see the truth pertaining to anything and everything more clearly and actually objectively clearly compared to at other times. So that's like, you might be working on something and trying to figure out what the wisest and the safest decision is to make, or something like this, and then you'll take a couple of minutes or hours by yourself out there in nature safely or something. You'll take some quiet time, and then there will just arrive this, you'll have sort of like a thought, more of a sense of knowing that that's how it is, or that it's like knowing something within about something where it'll be clear. Yet you have to double check that too, because see, you could think that you have a divine inspiration or an answer to an important question coming from the cosmic source, when it could also be inaccurate. So there's a time when you will have the ability to accurately, keenly, actually perceive like divine communication from within. And when is that? It's actually mostly in a C period, because that period, and refer to the book that I mentioned, Self-Mastery and Fate with the Cycles of Life here, the daily period of C, friends, guests, visitors, family, the daily period of C is the period wherein it's a time for the realization of great spiritual truths, for example, right? So for example, what will happen is we're actually in a C period right now. Yep, because it's Thursday evening at 8:24 p.m. 1st of May, 2025. Yep, it's a C period right now. So you can see very, very, very clearly in the C periods. And, these are, there's a C period every day, really. So anything that you seek to find the truth about, any question, maybe it's an important decision, or you're seeking to be able to see clearly what exactly is going on in your life and what you should change or how you should move forward and so on and so forth. What's actually going on is remember, you have to zoom out and look and see clearly what your current position within the cycles of life is in, right? What's the daily period right now? Using the winter time calculation of time all year round, not the summertime. So you have to see what daily period you're in, then what's the short lunar unit, what's the long lunar unit, what's the annual life cycle period, including the health, business, and personal life cycle period, right? Then what is your, what's the simple overall period of human life you're in, and what's your soul personality? You keep an eye on that too. So you're always watching 9 different cycles of life as much as possible. I'm seeking to, and I'm usually able to check them every 3 or 4 hours, actually. The more you have an overview of all the cycles of life that you're in as much as possible, the more accurately you actually see, first of all, where you stand in the cycles of life and what cycles of life are going on, and thus what is perpetuous within the cycles of life that you are in right now. And so you can act wisely, and you basically have maximum health and wealth, and you achieve the highest good on an ongoing basis, right? Hopefully in accordance with God's will. So quite simply, you can have all the wisdom that's possible to have. Yet, listen, that would also only be, it would be temporary, and more would be given to you. See, that's something I realized too. Imagine having the highest amount of wisdom from the cosmic source, from the Creator, right? Yet you realize that because life is going on and on, the cycles of life are going on, that too wouldn't be the highest amount. There's still the Most High, the cosmic mind, or the Creator, God within, and universal, of course, that communicates to you and gives you additional guidance, wisdom, instruction, reveals and shows you, the truth about anything you ask or you seek to know the truth about, whether it's yourself, others, the world, the universe, everything. So it's as if you're in this beautiful process of ongoing divine instruction and upbringing, like a child of the Father. It's great, because think about this. There's some things that are so high. What's the highest you could ever go? What's the highest question you have? It may or may not be possible to receive an answer from someone that is sufficient. Although there are those who are wise who can give you not necessarily an answer completely, yet sort of some guidance so that you can find the truth for yourself. So if you were to ask me a question right now, a serious one, I would say to you, look, I can tell you what I know with the amount of wisdom that I have, though you should know that ultimately it will be revealed to you at a certain time when it is the time for such things like the realization of great spiritual truths. And you'll have a divine thought or a sense of knowing from the Creator within. God will speak to you, and you will comprehend it as knowing it, not like hearing a voice in your head or anything like that. Rather, you will know the truth about this. or you'll know this is how it is. Okay? And then you'll have to double check that and check what daily period of the cycles of life that came in. Because, see, there's a time, like I said, when we can think that you're hearing the voice of God, yet, wait a second, okay, to actually explain this, listen closely, if you will. Look, okay, question. How do we rightly and accurately and truthfully actually interpret, or shall we say, perceive, like correctly comprehend and discern when God speaks to us? Okay, well, first of all, the thing is that God is within us first and foremostly. So this human being that we are is like that what is the manifested creator in the form of a human being, created in the image of God and after his own likeness. So that's the right perspective to have now. So then when God speaks to us, it's not like hearing a voice coming out of the sky up there. That's not how it works. It's from within. Now, of course, God is omnipotent and everywhere and universal, right? And one. Okay? Yet, first and foremostly, God is within us and embodied by us, and still totally universal, and so on and so forth. So then, when God speaks to you, how is it going to be? You're going to perceive, intelligently sense within yourself a communication. Sort of like a thought where so you have a thought, and this thought brings clarity and enables you to see clearly something that you've been looking at. Okay? Yet it's not like hearing a voice. It's a sense of knowing this. It's like, I'll be walking here, and all of a sudden I realize that this person is actually like sort of about this and that, and tried to this and that, and is trying to do this and that. Or you'll see something, and at first you'll be surprised and think, what? No. Really? But then you'll have to check, and then you go and you check, oh, and it happens to be the C period. The time for a realization of great spiritual truths, where you can see clearly everything that's going on, basically, in your life. And how do you ultimately see the truth of what's going on in your life at any given point in time? Beyond what you may have a hunch about, or even a cosmic impulse about, there's another. See, the tool and the proving mechanism and golden standard is what's by wisdom. So we can actually use wisdom at any time to identify what is actually really going on in, let's say, all of our life situation, whether near or far, what anybody could be trying to accomplish in relation to us, whether near or far. Like, you can know these things by looking at the cycles of life that you're in and seeing what they are perpetuous for, and the description of them tells you approximately what is going to happen. Moreover, basically what is possible and what's likely to happen and what isn't likely to happen within certain time frames, within the cycles of life, within, the annual life cycle period of 365 days. That's a year, right? Starting on your birthday, you've got an annual life cycle period of 365 days. Divided into 7 52-day segments approximately. Those are 7 different annual life cycle periods that are good for different things in both health, business, and personal life, right? So you can also see everything as it really is in your life right now, what's basically what could happen, what's likely to happen, what's likely not to happen. If you read the description of this period's of the cycle of the cycles of life that you're in right now. So the more you keep an overview, a totally holistic, like sort of a big picture overview of the life cycles you're in at all times, you always really know what's going on. And this covers everything, whether near or far. It's like I have a situational overview that covers all of this existence, like as it pertains to me as a human being. I know what's gonna. So, like for example, listen. How does this actually practically look? It's as simple as this. Look, for example, right? I can check the tide chart for the nearest maritime location. Okay. I can check the daily period, I can check the lunar cycles, short and long, and I can check the longer life cycle of, say, another 15 days that I'm in till I go into the 6. I can check the next 6 years. I know what it's good for, what it isn't good for. It's like, basically, for all of our human existence, 0 to 144 years, we can actually see right now and ahead of time. We can see in the past, the present, and in the future what life cycles, there are and what these are good for. And these include, and what can happen, what's likely to happen, basically what should and what should be achieved, right? And what shouldn't, what we should be working on, what we shouldn't be working on, and so on and so forth. And we can basically live the best possible life and actually realize, and joyfully realize and live our fully, divinely predestined and ordained, super highly blessed and favored total purpose too, leading to the accomplishment of the highest good, right? The maximum, accomplishment of the ultimately perfect will of the Creator. And that, that has really good results included, yeah? Like world peace, collective security, God's will being completely made manifest. All these things that are really good in life, that are legit. And that just goes on and on. Now, still, at the same time, look, as I said earlier, I had said that, hold on a second here. I had said that. Okay, yeah. So, even if you had the highest amount of wisdom, and you had so much wisdom, and you're literally, you can see the future, you can determine the future, and the destiny of, the complete and total world in accordance with God's will, and so on and so forth. This is all possible too. You should know that this is actually possible. And so on. Still, what would happen is that even the best thing that you could possibly imagine as like a goal or something, or a life's goal and objective to work on with all the wisdom you had as a magi, as a master, in accordance with God's will. The thing is that the Creator, right, would be revealing additional information to you as time progressed. So essentially, it's like you have a certain amount of wisdom that basically enables you to see how everything is basically all the time. Yet, even knowing pretty much everything, what happens is that life still is even better than you imagined, because of this divine surprise, sort of additional good providence that is always working. Thank God for that. So what I'm saying is that you can attain so much wisdom from the Creator so that you pretty much know everything about life. You know what's going to happen. You know the life cycles. Pretty much everything technically that's going to happen from, the point when you're born till you reach 144 years of age. You know everything about this earthly existence. You can accomplish anything, and so on and so forth. Yet, guess what? While that goes on, you also have live an eternal link, or an eternal sort of a union with the Creator, because God is within us and is communicating to us and is communicating additional good things. And like, you could know, basically you could have so much wisdom that you know everything there is to know ever, right? Yet, while you know that, you also know that it's going to be better than you expected. Yeah. So, like, how should I say this? So you can have as much wisdom as possible, and you could literally know. You could know what's going to happen in the future, and even make certain things happen. Surely, right? So pretty much having like a total overview of life, yet life is always even still much better and interesting, and the Creator provides it even better than you imagined, than it being the best. So it's always very good, yeah? It's a true story.